is a discourse of the previous Rebbe, and it talks about the idea of joy and the idea of humility, and it's a fundamental look at life and a look at gratitude and service. And if you look at Jews, and you see the Jews which are like doing it right, it's because they got the message of this mimer. But no further ado, let's go straight to it. And those who suffered will increase their happiness in Hashem. Upirish Rashi, Anavim, I'm translating as those who suffered, but it also means, wait, just sign me into there. Okay.
Don't know.
Those who suffered is the literal translation of the word is humble ones, but Rashi says Anam Savlanim, people who have suffered the yoke of God and God's decrees, and they will increase their joy in Hashem. We need to understand humility and joy are two things that are very far away from each other in their nature, that they bring you to two opposite places. Humility is a nature of shiftless. Shiftless means to have a lack of self-importance. Anava is about lowliness, having a lack of self-importance. Because a person has a lack of self-importance, that's why he's able to suffer through the yoke of and the decrees against him. He's able to handle the suffering and the decrees that are not to his favor because of his lack of self-importance. As the nature of someone who is batal be'etzem, nature of someone who is naturally in a state of self-abnegation, and he does not reckon with himself at all, doesn't think about what he does want, what he doesn't want. That's in general, Chris as a previous Rebbe, in most scenarios, the kind of person we're talking about is someone who is bashful or someone who is private, always they're not an extrovert, they're more of an introvert, and they distance themselves from anything that involves expression, and because their nature is to be in a state of tranquility and carefully measured steps. This is the nature of someone who is humble. There's a lack of self-importance. That's why he's able to handle things that happen to him. People who they distance themselves from expression, and the literal translation of the word that I'm using for expression is spreading themselves out. They're not interested in being the life of the party, and their nature is instead tranquility and mesinus. Mesinus means to take carefully measured steps, to be thoughtful about what you do. That's the nature of those who are humble. However, joy, the nature of joy is connected to lifting yourself up and having a sense of self-importance. And that's why you spread yourself out, and you want to be like a river that spreads farther and farther. Sometimes the joy that the self-expression and espashtos, this desire to be there and to be everywhere, to spread yourself out, sometimes this desire is something that is excessive, that causes you to go beyond your normal parameters. As the famous teaching, joy breaks boundaries. Sometimes because you are in a state of joy, you want to get out there in a way that is beyond your nature. That means not only are you, like in the scenario of a river, not only is the river filling the entire length and breadth and depth of this area of the riverbed, So too, this person who's in a state of joy not only is in a state of expression and wanting to get out there and to be everywhere, but more, the joy is in such a way that he goes beyond the limits. Like an analogy of the river flows over beyond its limits. Like, for example, a river in a time when the snow thaws. When the snow thaws, not only does a river fill its entire bank, but the river goes beyond its bank. And not only does it go beyond its banks, but the waters of the river, they irrigate all of the areas, not only the areas near the river, but also the water goes to areas far from the river. Because the water is going beyond its because the water has left its borders, that itself causes the water to be in a state of tumult and chaos. In other words, as long as the water is within the river bank, so the water has a very clear system of how it flows. Once the water is now beyond its banks, because of all of the new environment the water is in, it's the water naturally becomes tumultuous, and there's a storm, there's a tumult wherever the water reaches. So too is this the nature of joy. The joy causes us to go beyond our boundaries, because joy is about being emotional. And the nature of someone who's emotional is that once you're emotional, it makes you more emotional. Or just like by the water, once it goes beyond its river banks, the water is now tumultuous. So too, if you're in a state of joy and a state of high emotions, the emotions breed more emotions. For example, somebody who is their character is they have a hard character, meaning that they have a hard character in the sense of there's different kinds of hard characters. This could be passive aggressive kind of character, and there could be outwardly aggressive character. So somebody, I'll talk to someone who's aggressive. Someone who, while they are impressed by something, while they are excited about something, that makes them be very emotional, very how should we say? They lose themselves. So that itself, that they have become overly emotional, that causes them to become more emotional. Being emotional makes them more emotional, that they completely leave their normal parameters. So somebody who is easily excitable, right? So they get angry, and then they explain to you why they get angry, and they get angry. You know, like they're the fact that they got angry, they're aggressive, and they're upset. That upsetness, like the Yankel screams across the shul at Shmedel. So the fact that he screamed across the shul at Shmedel, that itself makes him want to scream more at Shmedel. It's not like okay, now I've done it and I'm yoitz and I let it go. The excessive emotions that have been brought forth breed more of the same. Because the emotions create more emotions. Because he's gone beyond his parameters, it makes him go more beyond his parameters. So that's why people who have a harder time with their natural character, people who have stronger character, stronger emotional expression, unusually strong emotional expression. But then there are people who have average character, the average people. Average people also, once they get emotional, their emotions breed more emotion. They make them even more emotional. For example, and especially at a time of joy, when a person is at a time of simcha, so the excitement and the emotion is extreme. Like we see clearly at a time of joy, the fact that you are so excited and emotional, that makes you more emotional, and that makes you more have a sense of self-importance and self-awareness. You become bigger in your own eyes and more important in your own eyes. Your excitement about, let's say, your youngest daughter's wedding. So that excitement, that happiness, that brings you to a sense of more happiness and more excitement. The excitement creates more excitement. It's a domino effect. It's not like you've jumped on the table without your pants all of a sudden. It's because you jumped on the table, therefore you lost your pants. You understand what I'm saying? Your excitement makes you more excited. So even someone who, in a regular scenario, is very measured in all of his affairs, but when he's happy, it's as if he becomes a new person. All of a sudden he becomes a talker, and he talks with a lot of emotion, and he talks about how important he is and things that he does. Like until now, this guy never spoke. Now, as he's happy, all of a sudden it changes him to a different person and becomes a guy that has lots to say about everything that he's doing. This is because joy, the nature of joy, is to cause there to be a spashtus. It causes a person to become, I don't know, and I don't have a good translation for spashtus again. The spashtus means to spread out. It causes a person to be fully expressed and to become fully because he's happy, right? He has his rachmos, he has his spashtus. Shalom Aleichem. The nature of happiness is that happiness causes a person to have more expression. So the person wants to be out there. He wants to be everywhere. People use the expression "the life of the party," right? What's the life of the party mean? Life of the party means a guy who is in everything. So sometimes like people want to be center stage, right? So that desire to be center stage is what I think spashtus means. Spashtus means to spread yourself out. You want to be there. You want to express yourself. You want to be all out there. So joy, the nature of joy is that joy brings you to have this sense of expression and to become the life of the party, to spread yourself out, which is the opposite of the nature of humility. So that's why the question the Rebbe has is, it says in the pasuk, those who have suffered, those who are humble, will have more joy in Hashem. The question is, how does humility bring you to have more joy? It seems that humility and joy are opposite kinds of feelings. Humility, as we just learned, is where you look at yourself to be lowly, to be not important, and therefore you're able to suffer through whatever has happened to you, right? That's humility. And joy is the opposite. Joy is about a sense of worth, a sense of when you're happy. So what do we say? It causes you to want to spread out. It causes you to get out there. You want to talk now about everything that's going on in your life. You have it's your youngest daughter's chasna, and you are all of a sudden going to talk about how great you are and things that you've done. So what joy has done to you is joy has made you have a sense of importance, and therefore you're excited, and therefore your excitement makes you more excited, and you go beyond your limitations. So joy, it seems, is about giving you more of a sense of worth, more of a sense of BMOC. You know, BMOC is
big man on campus.
All right, exactly. You want to be a big man on campus. You want to be the guy. You want to spread yourself out. You want to be the center stage. That's what joy does. But humility is the opposite. Humility is a sense of a lack of self-worth, and therefore you're able to. So this happened. It's okay. That happens. Okay. Why is everything okay? Well, it's a sense of humility because you don't have that sense of self as much as others, and therefore you're able to handle when things don't go your way. So how come the verse says humble people will have more joy in Hashem? How does that fit? So obviously there's something more about humility that we don't know, something more about joy that we don't know, and this man will tell us the answer. Let's go further. So it's very wondrous that the verse says that humble people will increase their joy in Hashem, which it seems that these are two opposite tendencies. Humility is a sense of lowliness, and joy is a sense of importance. And even more, what does the verse say? It doesn't just say that humble people will be happy. It sounds like from the verse, because they're humble, that's why they'll be happy. The humility is a cause of the joy. How does that make sense? It's not like you'll be humble, you'll be happy despite the fact you're humble. No, because you're humble, you have more joy. So to explain this, we have to go a little deeper. Man is called the central creature of Hashem. Man has in himself something from the higher worlds, and something in the lower worlds. The Gemara says there are 6 things in man. 3 of them make us angelic, we're similar to the angels, and 3 things that we do that are similar to humans. So that means a person in his body and his soul has in himself from the higher worlds and from the lower worlds. So because we have from the higher worlds, we have a lot of amazing characteristics. Because there are things in the lower worlds, we have other stuff. But man has something that surpasses the higher worlds and surpasses the lower worlds because he has both. Man is what is the right word? Vortex. He is able to do a lot of stuff that no one else can because all other creatures have one instinct, one function, or 2. But let's say you have 2 creatures, says the previous Rebbe, and each creature has the opposite tendency of the other, and they meet. So, for example, he says the raven and the eagle meet. So the raven and the eagle fight with each other because the nature of an eagle is to be merciful, the nature of a raven is to be cruel. It says about ravens don't even take care of their young. So they are opposite forces. They have one tendency, and that one tendency, if it's at odds with another creature, they can't get along. But a person has the advantage that he is able to incorporate within himself opposite tendencies. The person has in him something from the higher worlds and the lower worlds. So the person has an advantage over the higher worlds in the sense that not only does he have the ability to enjoy godliness, but he's able to bring down this light of Hashem to this world. If he was just angelic, right, so he would be able to enjoy godliness and love of the lights and stay in heaven. But he's also part of this world too. He also has 3 things in him that's like an animal. And therefore his experience is able to, of being connected to Hashem and enjoying Hashem, that's able to draw a amount of, tremendous amount of light to this world. So therefore, says the previous Rebbe, everything you do has to be with joy. Because joy is what reaches the essence of Hashem. Joy is what causes there to be lots of revelation. And what's the vessel to have joy? Get this, the vessel to have joy is bittul. Although humility means to be lowly, but humility comes from a recognition of the truth. Someone who is humble, somebody who is in a state of natural abnegation, he recognizes the truth. What's the truth? The truth is that all the good that you have is not because of you, it's because of what you received from our forefathers, from our grandparents. And because you realize that all the good you have is not because of you, it's because of what you received as an inheritance, that's what brings you to have a state of bittul. But it's not a state of bittul in a sense of lowliness and deprecation. Rather, bittul here means you're able to put yourself on the side because you recognize the truth. And that's why humility is a vessel for joy. Let's go over that. Let's understand it. And not much time, so let's try to at least summarize the points, and God willing tomorrow we'll expand on the Mitzvah Hashem, as Reb's going to go deeper into the discourse. Well, we started off thinking that humility and joy are opposites, because humility is about self, a lack of a sense of self, a lack of self-importance, and that's where you have to suffer everything. And joy is a sense of importance. That's why when you're happy, all of a sudden you talk about everything, you're interested in yourself, you talk about yourself, you want to be the BMOC. That's joy. So what we've discovered is that there is another layer of joy. There's a joy of Hashem. And the joy of Hashem specifically is connected to someone who is in a state of bittul. And when we have bittul, we are able to absorb the joy of God, able to absorb an infinite divine joy. The vessel for God's joy, which will animate us with joy, is bittul. What is bittul? Bittul is about hakoras ha'emes, recognizing the truth. What's the truth? The truth is that we have a lot to be grateful for. Why? Because whatever we have is not because of our own achievements, because of what we've done. It's rather something that we received as a gift because we've inherited it from our grandparents. And the more we realize the truth, that we don't have anything that we don't deserve anything, that whatever we have is really a gift from Hashem, that gives us a sense of joy with what we have. That's the That's it. That's the direction we're going. By having a sense of bittul, by having a sense of it's not me, it's a gift from Hashem, and whatever I've done doesn't make me deserve anything. That recognition of the truth, that is the vessel for God's joy. That bittul, you feel it's not you that deserves anything, that is what makes you a vessel for God's joy. We'll see Mr. Hashem more. Bittul doesn't mean lowliness, a lack of self-worth, lack of self-importance. Rather, bittul is about putting yourself on the side. And how do you put yourself on the side? By realizing whatever you have is not because of you. Putting yourself on the side. I think it's a little un-American, this idea, but we'll get there. We'll get there. All right.
To listen again.